What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review for Married. I was going to say Married to Medicine. Marrying Millions. We are season 2, episode 5. So let's go on and talk about. Let's get the easy stuff out the way, child, before we get to the last little couple. So we have Bill and Bree. Now it's the day after they had the dinner with their mom and with her parents and everything. And one of the things, and I think I forgot to mention this in my last review, Bill, the other thing that Bill said that was a little concerning was that he didn't think monogamy was natural. Now, he didn't say that people couldn't be monogamous or that he didn't believe that it could happen. He just said he didn't think it was natural, that you had to work hard to be monogamous with somebody, right? And so Bree, of course, is feeling some kind of way because she's like, what the hell does that mean? And where does that leave us? And they're talking about it the next day, and they have this whole conversation about it. And I find it to be very interesting that they had this conversation, and Bree was just kind of like, well, where does that leave us? Like, at this point, I'm really questioning everything. I'm really questioning this relationship, where we are now, how we got here, where we're going. And she asked him, she said, listen, so let me ask you a question. Do you want to marry me? And he was like, I know I don't want another divorce, and I kind of like the way things are now. Why can't we just do what we're doing? And what did he say? Those infamous words? It's just a piece of paper. And so, of course, Bree was feeling some kind of way about the whole situation, which kind of left her like, I don't know what I'm doing now. And she said it really left her feeling like, we've been doing all of this for what? You know what I mean? Like, I've been dating you for over a year now. For what? Because what you're saying is that we may never get married. You may never be ready to marry me. And that's not what I want. Like, I don't want. But you know what? And I hate to say it like this, but that is what you are dealing with when you're dealing with the man that's that much older. He's been there. He's done that. He's got grown kids. He ain't trying to have no. I don't think he's trying to start over. He's been through 2 divorces. He knows what that feels like. He knows what it feels like financially, emotionally. And he's content for y'all to just be dating for the rest of y'all's relationship. He's content with that. And honestly, that's what you kind of sacrifice when you're in these older relationships. We're going to talk a little bit in a minute about Erica and old boy. So Katie and Kevin. Now, remember last week, Katie asked Kevin for some money because she was short on her rent. It was like $1,000. He was like, nope. What if I ain't had no money? What would you do then? She got an attitude, rolled out. So we see her and her friend at yoga, and she's still upset about it. And, she was like, I really like Kevin. I really love Kevin. But, I just don't know, if he can't change and he can't understand, and again, it's not about him taking care of her, but she said, I'm really struggling. I'm kind of in between jobs right now, and I'm really struggling financially, and I just don't understand how cheap he is. It's like, I'm really just not understanding about him being so cheap. And so later on in the episode, we see Kevin talking to his mom, and his mother was like, boy, has she asked you for money before? Like, is this a pattern? Is this something she does all the time? And he was like, no. She said, well, then I don't see what the problem is. She's in a little bit of a spot. She's your girlfriend. Like, I think it's okay to help her out this time. Like, if it becomes a pattern or you start feeling like, she's relying on you to take care of her, then that's another conversation. But if this is the first time and, she promised to pay you back, then you kind of just got to just deal with it, Then we have, later on in the episode, he took his mother's words to heart. He surprised her at the gym. He bought flowers and everything. And she said he had never even bought her flowers before, so she was surprised by that. And he told her, he's sorry about them fighting. He doesn't want to fight. And yes, he's very nervous about loaning the money. He said the only time we've ever really argued has been about money. Now, that's interesting. But he agreed to loan her the money, and he really wanted to try to make things work. And of course, she forgave him, and they moved on. Blah blah blah. Ginty, listen, I told y'all I'm sick of this whole Ginty storyline. If she ain't gonna get back with Brian, I mean, I appreciate her story. She's trying to find herself, but it's called Marrying Millions. Now, in this episode, we see her visiting the clinic to see about maybe doing something to get pregnant as far as fertilization. And the lady told her, well, maybe you don't need to drink, and maybe you need to do this and you need to look into that, and these are your options, these are your options, these are your options. So now she's thinking about having a kid, however she has to have a kid. We see later on with her meeting up with her friends, and she's talking to her friends about it. And of course, we're so here for you. We're here for you. We have your back, Ginty. You don't have to do this by yourself. And I'm like, but when she had a perfectly good man that was gonna give her all of the above, y'all had a problem with that. Now, granted, I get it. Brian wasn't a perfect guy, but at the end of the day, she was grown, marrying him. I'm sure she was smart enough to get some sort of prenup, and if she wasn't, then she deserved to lose her money. I don't know. But she had a man, and y'all wasn't happy with that. So now she's miserable. She buying houses, fixer-uppers. She going to find out about getting fertilized, and now y'all got her back, and y'all supporting her. You should have just left her with Brian and let them figure it out. Anyway. We got Rick and we have Erica. Now, remember Rick and Erica, that's the one with the 49-year age difference. So they're back in Miami. They were talking about the trip home. He thinks the trip went really well, and she was like, babe, I don't know what made you think that trip went well, but it did not. Like, my family didn't. My daddy wasn't rocking with you. My grandmama wasn't rocking with you. I don't know what made you think that trip went well, but it did not. Okay. His birthday is coming up, and what we find out is that his friends don't really like Erica. They think she's a gold digger. They try to figure out what her reason is, what her purpose is. She don't work. She lives off of him. And on top of the fact that they don't like her and they think she's a gold digger, they also feel like she's sort of coming in between their friendship. They say, listen, we always spend Rick's birthday with him. We always have something for him. Now all of a sudden, she's going to have this birthday with him, his 69th birthday. It's going to be a private affair, just the two of them. And we're not going to do no celebration. Now, I understand that's your man and you want to have a private party. Ain't nothing wrong with that, Erica. But, Rick, you could have done both. You could have had the private party with Erica, and if you still wanted to hang out with your friends, it just wasn't going to be on your birthday. Those are the things you do when you're in relationships. I don't think there's anything unreasonable about that. Like, they're in a relationship. She wants to spend her man's birthday with him in a relationship. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I do find it interesting that his friends don't really care for her, and they think that she's a gold digger. So later on in the episode, we're celebrating his birthday, and she done decorated the yacht. She got balloons and stuff hanging and all that good stuff. And now this is what I did think was a little interesting. The whole night was sexual. It was his 69th birthday, so they had that whole innuendo of the whole 69. Her gift to him was handcuffs, fur-lined handcuffs. They had a cake where, he was licking the cake off of her fingers. Like, the whole scene was just very, very sexual. And he was like, all right, well, let me go downstairs and get the rest of my gift. Okay, let's go down to the bedroom and get the rest. And she said, well, before we do that, I don't want to ruin the mood, but I do want to have a conversation with you. Because that conversation that she had with her grandmother about becoming his caretaker, that stuck in her head. And she's having a conversation with him about marriage, but more importantly, well, what arrangements have you made? And so she kept beating around the bush until finally he said, well, actually, I've made those arrangements. I wouldn't leave that on you. Like, you wouldn't have to take care of me. I wouldn't leave that. I wouldn't lay that at your feet, so don't worry about it. I've made the proper arrangements for that. And so then all of a sudden she felt better. I don't think she was so concerned about the marriage part so much as she was concerned about not having to take care of him. I really feel like that was her biggest concern, was that she didn't want to have to take care of him. I thought that to be very interesting. Now, I think this is our last couple, Desiree and Rodney. Listen. marrying millions, and Lifetime TV, which I'm not going to do is play in my damn face, okay? Listen, everybody thinks this man is gay. Desiree, at the beginning of the episode, she went out on a hike with her best friend, and she's telling her best friend, Rodney finally gave in, and I'm going to DC to meet his family. And she was like, oh, for real? He finally coming out the closet? Y'all playing word games. Then later on, her best friend going to say, well, maybe he's dealing with some inner demons. Y'all playing. So she's excited to meet her in-laws and all that good stuff. So she gets to DC. Rodney picks her up from the airport in that Rose voice. I see you, Rodney. I know you probably don't like me, and that's okay. But I see you, Rodney, in that Rose voice, boo. So they're on their way to the house, and she's asking him, well, what do I need to know? What should I do? What should I say? And I feel like he's giving her guidance, but he's not giving her as much guidance as I think he could be giving her as far as meeting his mother. I mean, he's telling her, well, my mother's very opinionated, and, if she don't like you, it's going to be a problem, and, she's very conservative, but at the end of the day, they get to the house, they go to his townhouse, they get to the house, and of course they're sleeping in separate rooms, and Rodney ain't feeling that, and he trying to figure out what it is he need to do for them to sleep in the same room. And she's like, I already told you what you need to do. You need to put a ring on my finger. He was like, well, hell, I can go make you a paper ring if that's all it's going to take. And of course, she didn't find that funny. And he was like, wow. I mean, I think it's funny. I think it's a little funny myself. So they get ready for this dinner with his parents. And the dress that she has on, she's talking about how important this is, and she wants to make a good impression, and she doesn't want to offend his mom and all of that. But the dress that you have on look like straight out of Hoochie Mama Digest, okay? It's hot pink. It's cut here. Your breasts are doing this. It's short and it's tight. What part of that dress, and it's cut low in the back, what part of that dress did you think was appropriate to meet his mama for the first time? I'll wait. You done already said that his mother is an ordained minister. So pretend like you going to church. Would you have worn at the church? And if you have one at the church, then Rodney, you got bigger fish to fry. Because if she thinks that that's appropriate, again, then you got bigger fish to fry. Okay? So she comes down the steps, and Rodney immediately feels like that dress is inappropriate. But his thing is, if I say something at this point, it's just going to piss her off, and it's going to create a bigger problem. So I ain't going to say nothing. But in my mind, I'm like, all right, Rodney, you done set her up, because you already know that dress ain't going to work. You should have said, can you put on even if she had put on a sweater, I mean, the boobs would have still been out, but the back wouldn't have been out. Like, it would have been better. But okay. So he had his private chef there, and they're cooking dinner. And he said, well, my mom wanted to have this big old dinner party where you can meet everybody, but I figured it'd be better for it to just be the four of us, at least for now, and then we can branch out. I'm like, well, I think that was a good compromise. The parents get there, and they're actually having they actually started off having a really good conversation. And the mom, I think, was actually feeling her. I think the mom was actually liking Desiree. But here go the problem, Desiree's mouth. You don't know when to stop talking, Desiree. So she starts talking about, yeah, because if I'm going to be his wife, I'm going to be his wife, I'm going to be his wife. And Mama was like, okay, but I feel like maybe y'all need to get to know each other a little bit more before we start talking about marriage. And she said, well, we've been together for 2 years. Mama was like, what? Say what? Yeah. Y'all been together for 2 years? How do I not know? How do I not know that y'all been together for 2 years? Okay. All right, cool. Y'all been together for 2 years. Okay. So then she keeps talking, and she starts talking about how, yeah, because I told him we weren't going to have sex until we got married. What part of any conversation with somebody's parent do you think want to know about y'all sex life, whether it's happening or not? First of all, y'all are grown, so whether y'all are having sex or not really ain't that concerned. But how about that's not a dinner table conversation, and it's never a conversation with somebody's parents? Why did you think that was appropriate? And then she gonna say, I mean, because a woman has needs. So Rodney, he's embarrassed and he a little irritated. So then the mother said something about, well, where y'all gonna live if y'all get married? I mean, you on the East Coast, you on the West Coast, he on the East Coast. And she said, well, we're still working all of that out. And the mother said, okay, well, his business is here on the East Coast. I mean, she was like, yeah, but, he makes enough money that, we could be bi-coastal. He makes enough money. So then mama was looking at Rodney like, really? You make enough money that y'all can live bi-coastal? So that's when Rodney gonna say, so now Rodney irritated. I feel like at that point he had enough and he was irritated. Rodney gonna say, but if I'm paying all the bills, I mean, I think we should live where I want to live. Baby, his mama said, what? Paying all the who? You paying all of her bill? Oh, we're paying all the bills now? That's what's going on? You, her, him? Okay. Paying all the bills? So then Desiree was like, well, I mean, it's not like I asked him to. Oh, but you didn't say no, did you? Mama was like, yeah, but you didn't say no. So now mama done went from, I think I kind of like her. She a little bit extra, but I kind of like her too. I think she's a gold digger and she after my son's money and I don't like her. So Desiree, you did that to yourself. Because you was in there. Mama was kind of feeling you a little bit. She thought you might have been a little rough around the edges, but she could work with you. But you just couldn't stop talking. You ain't had to say nothing about how long y'all... I mean, the part about y'all dating a long time wasn't the issue. It was when... Because I think that his mother was mad at him about. Why? Because she was like, I should have met her by now. We should have met her by now. Why am I just meeting her? So she was mad at him about that. But when you started talking about the bi-coastal, and you started talking about the fact that he's paying your bills, and let me say this for the record. Desiree, let's be clear, you run a nonprofit, and that's no disrespect to people who do nonprofit work, but you run a nonprofit. He's paying all your bills. You're barely maintaining yourself on the West Coast. This man is a millionaire on the East Coast with 2 homes. I don't see what the problem is with you relocating. Especially if you get what you want, which is the ring. If this man puts a ring on your finger, I don't see what the problem is with you. I would do it. I mean, if I'm marrying someone who makes more money than me and I have the kind of job that I can do, like you can do, do you know how many nonprofits are in DC? Do you know how much nonprofit work you can do if that's what your passion is in DC? Girl, you was tripping. And that should have never even been a conversation. Let's be clear. But anyway, that's what it was. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.